Somebody sent me a link. I just want to sound a note of warning. We're growing. Our community is growing on the internet. So thank God for that. So let's use it to sound a note of warning to certain people. I'm not going to tell you those people. I'm going to read something to you and you will decide what this is. So this book is called New Concept English for Junior Secondary Schools. Book 1. Comprehension. Please listen to this. Obafemi, the king of Oòduà. The title is called A Sneaking Suspicion. Obafemi, the king of Oòduà, and his queen, the beautiful and good Moremi, once lived in the greatest happiness together. Obafemi was so happy in the love of this excellent lady that he wished for nothing except that he wanted to see again and to present to his queen his old companion and schoolmate Nnamdi, king of Onitsha. Please listen to this. It's for GSS 1. What's more of the king of Oòduà, Obafemi? His wife is Moremi. His friend, the death of their fathers. Each one had to rule his own kingdom, and so they had not met for many years, though they often exchanged gifts, letters, and loving messages. At last, after many invitations, Nnamdi came from Onitsha to Obafemi's palace for a visit. Obafemi begged the queen to give his friend of his youth a special care and attention, and his joy seemed to have been full when he was with his old companion. They talked about old times. They remembered their school games, their school days, and their youthful games. They told stories of these to Moremi, who also took a cheerful part in these conversations. After a long stay, Nnamdi was preparing to leave when Moremi, at her husband's wish, begged him to make his visit longer. And now this good queen's sorrow began. Nnamdi had refused to stay when Obafemi asked him, but Moremi's gentle words persuaded him to do so. At this, although Obafemi had so long known the honesty of his friend Nnamdi, as well as the excellent character of his good queen, he was seized with uncontrollable jealousy. Everything that Moremi did for Nnamdi, although it was done only to please her husband, increased the unfortunate king's jealousy. Suddenly, Obafemi changed from a true friend and the best and most loving of husbands into a wild, evil creature. He sent for Aminu, one of the lords of his court, and told him of his suspicions about his wife's unfaithfulness. Then he ordered him to poison Nnamdi. Aminu was a good man. He knew well that there was no iota of truth in what Obafemi suspected, and so, instead of poisoning Nnamdi, he told him of his master's orders and agreed to escape with him from Oòduà. Thus, Nnamdi, with the help of Aminu, arrived safely in his own kingdom of Onitsha. From that time on, Aminu lived in the king's palace and became the chief friend and favorite of Nnamdi. The escape of Nnamdi made the jealous Obafemi still angrier. He went to the queen's room where her little son, Shango, was just beginning to tell one of his best stories to amuse her. Taking the child away, the king sent Moremi to prison. Then the senseless person who wrote this then wrote, adapted from More Tales from Shakespeare by Charles and Mary Lamb. This is intentional. This is for JS1 kids. This is the cover of the book. I saw it this morning. I mean, was it yesterday? Somebody sent it to me. This is the cover of the book. And in this book, you heard Obafemi, the king of Oòduà, married to Moremi. Their son is Shango. You heard Nnamdi, the king of Onitsha, who came to live with Obafemi. And then, so apparently it's Igbo man living in Yorùbáland. And then after his visit, wants to go. A Yoruba woman now tells him to stay. And then the Yoruba man now gets jealous. And the Yoruba man now asks Aminu, a Hausa man, to poison the Igbo man. The Hausa man now takes the Igbo man and escapes. And goes back to Onitsha. And then the Hausa man now becomes the chief friend of the Igbo man. And then the Yoruba man, because of his jealousy, then imprisons his wife. This is what they are teaching children in JSS 1 in Yorùbáland. You know the funny thing? I'm not even so angry with certain people as when I now looked at the names of the writers, I discovered that many Yoruba people, we need help. We need help. Let me tell you the authors of this book. This is actually the one that actually got me angry, not even what they wrote inside the book. F. Ademola Adeoye. Q. Adam. I don't know what that is. J. Eto. Eyisi. A. Adekunle. B. Adepoju. Of these 6 writers, 3 are Yoruba. There's Q. Adam, J. Eto, Eyisi. To be honest, because you have a lot of writers, so what you're going to have for books like this is that you write your portion, the other person writes their portion, and then you now have a person who comes together and is like the editor, right? So the Yoruba person maybe did not see what the other person action, then they put it together and they published it, which is what happens in most cases. The real issue would be that how do you teach young children this? What are you saying to a Yoruba child with this ridiculous story? And this is not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third book in the last 1 year that have come out. There was one by Tony Anijo Majuru saying that they own Ile-Ife. There's another one that's on Amazon, written by another fool. And I said it, the person is a fool. Written by another fool claiming ownership of Ife. This one is essentially destroying, and he used names intentionally. Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Aminu Kano. He could have just used Amadu Bello. But so that because in his warped mind, he's very smart, he doesn't want to say Amadu, so he uses Aminu. This is the kind, I'm saying, see, my own job on this matter is just to sound a note of warning to folks in the Southeast. This thing that is being done, when you guys see it, you know, someone is writing they're using AI to generate our image to look like anything like they should do. I'm just saying that these things that are being done, the punishment for this thing is actually very weighty. And when that cup is full, and it's almost full, the people that will punish you people, they will not be people like me speaking English, and I've not met them, but I know they exist. When that cup is full, don't talk to your people, Don't talk to them. Just keep moving mad. How can a sane group write a story to destroy another group? And then you now turn around and say we are all one Nigeria. I know the funny thing, by the way, the punishment is coming. That one is not even, there's no negotiation. The punishment is coming. The only question is, when is it going to come? And like I said, it's not going to be by someone like me speaking English and saying, let's read books. No, those ones will not care about books. And I've said it several times, you will have the exact same result that you had in the 60s. So, and because when people say things like, it's not just one person. I've seen a number of books with the same agenda. And you see, I want to read something to you from Papa's autobiography. Give me 1 second. How can a group, an entire ethnic group, be so bent on destroying the psyche of another ethnic group to the point where they are publishing books and getting the kids to read? I'm glad I've never seen the book. I mean, it will never get to my kids' school because... 1 second. I'll look for something from Papa. There's a level of demon possession. Like you have to be possessed by demon to constantly write things to bring people down. I'm going to read something to you from Awo, the autobiography of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. I want to read something from page 135. It says here, by the end of August 1940, I was certain in my own mind that Dr. Azikiwe was not a conscientious member of the Nigerian youth movement, and that for some reasons best known to himself, he was bent on destroying this nationalist organization. We'll talk about NYM very soon. I'll tell you what happened in NYM. Just to tell you, this is 1940. I'll tell you what happened from 1937 to 1940, and one of the reasons I sound the way I do. By the end of August 1940, I was certain in my own mind that Dr. Azikiwe was not a conscientious member of the Nigerian youth movement, and that for some reasons best known to himself, he was bent on destroying this nationalist organization. So I was saying I'm going to talk about this organization very soon. When we're done with some of these things, we'll get into some of these stories. So not even story, the history, history. Then it says, at the same time, please listen to this. What year? 1940. This book was published in 1960. Stay with me. At the same time, to me that his policy was to corrode the self-respect of the Yoruba people as a group and to build up the Igbos as a master race, to magnify his own vaunted contributions to the nationalist struggles, to dwarf and misrepresent the achievements of his contemporaries, and to discount and nullify the humble but sterling quota which older politicians had made to the country's progress. Other incidents which happened thereafter merely went to strengthen my beliefs. This is what I want to say to you guys today. This observation that Papa made in 1940, I made it a few years ago and I discovered that it's the exact same thing. Why would any sane human being write that kind of book that I just read right now? Not this one, the one by about Obafemi Anamdi with your wife Moremi. Why would anybody write something like that in Yorùbáland to Yoruba people and publish it as a textbook in secondary schools? Why? If not to corrode the self-respect of the people. And listen, we're going to speak up, right? But like I'm saying, it's better that we are speaking up. When it happened in 66, and I'm going to read what happened in 66, 1 second, because Ombo, I was not there. I'm going to read from a book by Shehu Shagari. The book is called Beckon to Serve. What I'm doing basically is I'm just raising an alarm. That's all. And if you don't like what I'm doing, don't worry. Because if you don't like this and just, you know the funny thing, you don't see any, all these clowns that insult me, you don't see any of them saying, that was bad though. No. Why? Because they are in on it. It's all the same mindset. Like I said, there is a minority that's not like them, but it's a very tiny minority. People like Dora Queenly, like I always mention, and people like all those people I mentioned yesterday, Babi Asika. But the generality of the people is the same mindset. Let me read something to you. This one, that I read from Papa's autobiography, is a person. Let me read to you about the people. All right. This book is called Beckon to Serve by Shehu Shagari. It says, Ironsi's task was not helped by the behavior of Igbo residents in the north. Since his assuming power, many of them had been loudly proclaiming the regime to be theirs, and even making a virtue of the January coup killings. This attitude quickly spread from offices and public institutions to places like model terminals and markets. Some Igbo shopkeepers even took to displaying large-sized photographs which depicted Major Nzogu standing beside the body of the slain Sir Ahmadu Bello, the former Northern Region Premier. Igbo people would draw the attention of Northerners to the photographs and say of Nzogu, Shine Maganinku. In Hausa, he is the one who can knock sense into you. Some Igbo also took to public playing of gramophone record called Machine Gun. By the way, there were two. There was Machine Gun, there was El Nabakwa. This Machine Gun was by Celestine Uku. El Nabakwa was by Rex Lawson, which I've played here before. Some Igbo also took to public playing of a gramophone record called Machine Gun, whose celebratory lyrics of the January killings were interspersed with the sound of gunshots. Such unwarranted provocations naturally exacerbated the unease between Northerners and the Igbo. The pulse of the Northern grassroots disquiet was reflected in the vernacular press, that's the Hausa press, on 28 March 1966. Gaskia Tafikwabo. They ran a trenchant editorial calling for the insolent behavior of the Igbo residing in the north to be curbed. What Gaskia Kwabo in 1966, what they did in 66 is what I'm doing today. This was March. 2 months later, they dealt with Igbo people in the north. In May. By September, everything just scattered. Guys, I can't even say I'm begging because you're not worth it. I can't beg you. But I'm just asking that people actually talk to their people. Because it's not just one person or two persons. Exactly what happened in 66 is happening in 2025. It's been 60 years. Your people have not evolved. Toba Deleton, Emma Sari Kaba Kaba. You guys will run. Esayoni Bale. In other words, let me say exactly what I said. When this thing starts, it's not going to end quickly, and it's going to destroy your people. You know why? Every time this thing happened, whether it was in 66, in 45, in 53, in 67, every time it happened in history, it has the same ending, and it's always the same thing that begins it. Stop. Live in peace with your neighbors. If you don't want to experience terrible things, stop. Because this thing is going outside social media. How people know this? I saw a press conference or some people for what happened on Facebook. They did a press conference. If you start piling these things on top of one another, by the time regular people get to know, they won't hear come. If people wrote newspaper articles in March of 66 asking Igbo people to stop their provocative actions and publications, there were almanacs printed in the north showing the northerners that they were subservient to the Igbos in their own land. It's the same thing you are doing in 2025. I'm just laughing because it's the best way to. I don't want to say things that are not right, so it's better for me to laugh. So please, instead of you to be stupid and insult me in the comment section, instead of you to be sending messages to your parents through my TikTok page or YouTube page or whatever page or Facebook, please have a meeting. Learn to take responsibility and change your ways, because if you don't, people are going to get angry and they will not be reading books. They will not be doing what I'm doing. They will be, because in Kompuru, the end of this is destruction, essentially. I'll bring people up right now. But the point is that that one is for them. For you as a Yoruba person, Masu, the idea that we are all one, it's all love, it's a lie. The friends you have, they may be like that. And I do have friends like that as well. They don't really care for all these things. They just want to live their life and enjoy it. They are not about propaganda. I have friends like you do. They are Igbo. We have them who are good people. But, you see, what causes an avalanche? It's a snowflake. A snowflake can cause an avalanche. A snowflake, just kekere, like kekere come out jabos already. It doesn't take the entire group to do things. Was it not one person, Ojuku, and his advisors that caused the war? All it takes is a person who is stupid enough to keep repeating nonsense. And when they continue, whatever they do as a Yoruba person, just understand the fact that what Azikiwe was doing in 1940, well, it wasn't doing in the 40s, it started in the 30s, actually. It started in 1938. We'll have a session on it. And there are materials on these things. Not one book, not two. Trust me. And I'm not doing this to make him look bad. I'm telling you that there's a pattern I notice. What was done is like what they say in the church where I grew up. As it was, so it is. It's looking like so it shall be. See, just like clockwork, they're on YouTube. One already insulted me. I act like I didn't see. Let me read what they're writing. Igbo people don't have your time. Afonja, your only problem on earth is Igbo people. you notice that you will not hear them say anything about what was done. Why? They are cursed with irresponsibility. Accountability is kryptonite. Like if they take accountability, if they become accountable or become responsible, it's like they will die. So yes, they're going to insult. That's what they will do. It's a curse, and that curse is from within. That's the sad part. You see, if somebody calls you from outside, you will know how to love baby. But when you curse yourself, it's difficult. It's difficult. You are perpetually in a culture that just is stagnated. You are living 1,000 years before today, and you are happy. And I'm trying to say, and that's the funny thing. To the evil people that send me messages, listen to me. You're alone, you see. You're in your way. I'm not going to say I'm the most measured you come across, but I want to tell you that I'm one of the most measured you'll ever come across. If there's somebody, I can't mention somebody's name. There's a document. I will read it. I will read some things later. If you know what I know, which is not much, but if you know the little I know, you'll be having sessions. All those people the people that have sessions to curse people out and just insult Igbo people, they don't even have the materials, but they're angry with whatever they know. If you know what I know, you'll be opening live sessions to be cursing people out. I can't do that because I'm not like that. My faith will not allow me to do that. My person, my culture doesn't allow that. But guess what? The best I can do is to talk to you like you have sense. So while you're doing what you're doing, I'll just talk to my people that beware, okay? Love people. Remember your friends who are from that place. So those people are good. I get your English. But there is a plan. And it's not, I don't like conspiracy theories. Because I don't like it when people just make things up and create hate for other groups. This is not conspiracy. These are books that have been published. These are things that have been said. Influential people amongst them have said certain things and written certain things. And you know the saddest part? It's not just that I can find these things in the 1930s and 1940s and bring it to you. I have materials from 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It was in the 70s it started dying down. Materials from those decades that tell you what has been planned. But that's not even the painful part. The painful part is that in 2025, whatever was done then is still being done today, including rewriting people's history and calling Obafemi, which is essentially calling Awolowo, a bad person who is jealous of Nnamdi Azikiwe. Meanwhile, there are some reports in the UK archives There's one in the House of Commons that talks about, I've mentioned it here before, the others have not mentioned. There's one in the House of Commons that talked about the £877,000 Azikiwe stole in 1956. But beyond that, his involvement in what makes Nigeria what Nigeria is today is documented though. We don't say these things because let's all grow together. Maybe if you see a mirror in your life, maybe you will see the stupidity that you are, like the stupidity that you represent, and you fix up. Maybe. So we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to, if you notice, I'm also stopping myself because there are some damning things, and it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The kind of information that, information can be a burden. Knowledge can be a burden. I mean, to the unwise, it's a reason to puff up. It's a reason to be proud. But to the wise, I think it keeps you humble. It keeps you humble. And I don't know. We'll see. If some things can be said, we will say it. Let me tell you what I've been doing the last few months. I've been trying to find ways to explain very, very deep and damning things. So, like, how can you say it? What's the softest way to pass across this message? So whenever I come to terms with a particular way to pass across a particular message, I will then say it. So that's what I did, for instance, with even that one. I didn't go deep with the stuff they wrote in 1944. I didn't go deep into it intentionally. It's the same thing I do with when I was reading Beckon to Serve and what happened with Nwa for Rizu, I mean, let me just ask. Let me ask. That Nwa for Rizu stuff and Iransi and Deep Charima, all the drama that happened, okay, let me ask you, just to ask a question. Maybe I'm the one who didn't know a lot before I started reading some of these books. If you think that information about what happened at Orizu's house, what Mbadi was going to do, the Charima's role, Akinjide's role, if that information is very, it's out there in Nigeria, please write in the comment section. Just write yes if it is. Write no if it's not. I want to know if I'm the one who is just, I didn't discover those things today. I've discovered it for a while now. But I just want to ask you that those things that we say, or those things like that episode with One for Rizu, is it out there in the open? Maybe I'm the one living in a cave. Is it out there? Do people know these things? Am I the one? Have you is it out there? Maybe you have heard it, but is it out there? Please just write yes or no. I want to know so that I will know whether it's not even necessary to be saying these things, because from my own experience, many of these things I did not hear. I didn't hear growing up in primary school, secondary school, university, even post-grad. I didn't hear anything like this. But the craziest part? None of the things I'm saying, none is new. Many of these things have been written since the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. There's hardly any material I bring out that was published after the 1980s. There are few actually. Thank you, Intel. There are few information that I share that were published maybe 2000, 2002, 90s, but the vast majority, maybe 80% or 90% of what I share is from from the 30s. No, not 80. Yeah, 80 from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. 5% from maybe the 30s and 20s. I shared 1 or 2 books from the 19th century, and then a few others recently. What I'm trying to say is this: these things are not made up, but they are hidden. It's not new, but we don't know. Now, I think that the reason for me sharing it is not to infuriate people or to incite people. It's to actually sincerely, and if you go back to the video I started on Redomi channel, not even on Busui Oris, when my former account Redomi Realm. By the way, this is my second account, or my third. There's another account, Redomi Realm, which you are looking at here, up here. That used to be my original account. That account, if you go there, you will see. If you scroll down, you will see when I start talking about these matters. My own idea is, let us heal. The reason you cannot heal is because you don't know what happened. Perhaps if I shared the things that happened, and I started very slowly, if you go back to check it, if I share what happened, you will see what this person did and what that person did, and then you can take responsibility, the other person can take responsibility, and then we can heal. That was my goal. That is my goal. That's my goal. But you see, if you were raised in lies and you were brought forth in iniquity, it will become as if I'm against you because you don't know the idea of truth. Whatever we can share, we will share. What has been declassified has been classified. I have materials from the UK archives, for instance, that are just damning. I was talking to somebody a while back about an author in the UK that, they were talking about that particular thing. And the person said, the person did not respond because the person is Igbo. They have to, in their mind, deny it. A gentleman here sent me a message a couple of days ago about another Yorùbá author in the UK whose book I have. But because of what I'm about to say, I'm not going to mention his name. But he's a good writer when he wants to be, and then he's a ridiculous panderer when he writes about the war. The whole idea is to pander towards the Easterners. And he was essentially putting the blame of everything on the West, like on Oyinbo. And in my mind, I was like, because ìran wa tó bá ṣàṣìṣe tó wọ́n sọ pé nǹkan báyìí ló ṣe wọ́n ní tí ará ilé yín tó bá ń jẹ ẹ̀rọ onídòdò àbáwọ̀ ló ṣe ń pè ọ̀bẹ tó bá ń ṣe kankan ṣáà máa yọ kí nǹkan máa fi hàn. The idea basically is that you're supposed to confront a person with the truth. They don't want healing. That's the sad part. Like, okay, heal, but you can't heal without the truth. But no, they don't want healing. What they want is to constantly blackmail you with a past that didn't exist or that doesn't exist. I don't even know which word I should use, whether it's past tense or present tense. The past that never happened, they will use that to blackmail you and gaslight you. It's like when they talk about wanting Biafra, they don't want Biafra. They want presidency. Look at the bunch of clowns that were talking to the president. I didn't say anything about it earlier. If the president doesn't release Nnamdi Kanu, what happened in the last election will happen again. What happened? He won. He won without you. He will win again without you. And let's heal. This is the truth. This is what happened. I try as much as possible to present it in as like the softest way possible. I know it's hard. Listen, and I will tell you this, I'm not joking. If you have heard me share anything on this platform, those are not the deepest things, so